I proposed after 3 years with my girlfriend and she said marry someone else. So I stayed gone. She texted a photo of the ring box, called it a joke in email, waited outside work, sent her parents after me, and after I told her I waited 3 years but not without direction, the calls died. WZ Tales is back with another story. This one is about a man who proposed after 3 years together, only to be told to marry someone else if he could not wait. See if you think the main character waited too long to act. She did not even let me finish. I was halfway down on one knee, the ring box open in my hand, when Ava exhaled like I had interrupted her evening and said, "I'm not ready. If you can't wait, marry someone else." Not shocked, not emotional, not even nervous, just annoyed. That was the part that stayed with me, not that she said no. People can say no. People can be unsure. What stayed with me was the tone, like I had brought up something inconvenient instead of asking one of the biggest questions of my life. My name is Ryan. I was 25 then. Ava was 24. We had been together almost 3 years and living together for 1. Marriage was not some random topic I dragged in from nowhere. We had talked about it casually at first, then more seriously over the last 6 months. She sent me ring pictures sometimes as a joke. She talked about future trips, future apartments, even wedding ideas in that half-playful way people do when they want the dream without having to stand inside it yet. So no, this did not come out of nowhere. We were at home that night. No fancy dinner. No crowd. No violin in the corner. Just takeout containers on the counter, her favorite show paused on the TV, and the apartment we split rent on. The same apartment she called our home when things were good and my place when she was mad. I had planned it that way on purpose, because Ava always said public proposals were embarrassing. Too performative, she called them. I thought quiet and private would make it feel safe. Instead, it made the rejection clearer. I stayed there for a second after she said it, the ring still open, feeling more exposed than I expected. She did not look at the ring. She looked at me like I had misread the room. "I love you," she added quickly, like a disclaimer. "But I'm not there and I don't want to feel pressured." Pressured. That word almost made me laugh, not because it was funny, but because it told me how differently we had been living inside the same relationship. 3 years. Shared rent. Shared grocery lists. Shared weekends. Shared furniture. Shared future talk. But this was pressure. I stood up slowly and closed the ring box. My hands were steady, which surprised me. Inside, something was shaking loose, but it had not broken open yet. I told her, "I love you too, but I'm not going to beg or compete for commitment." She actually scoffed. "Why are you being so dramatic?" she said. "I'm just being honest. Would you rather I lie?" That was the moment something shifted, not when she said no, not even when she told me to marry someone else. The real break came when she said it like I would obviously stay anyway. Like this was just a pause. Like I would put the ring away, say I understood, and keep standing in place while she decided if I was worth catching up to. That kind of answer is not confusion. It is confidence that you will keep waiting. I slipped the ring into my pocket and said, "Okay." She frowned. "Okay what?" "Okay," I said again. "Then we're done." Her face changed, but not the way I expected. She did not look heartbroken. She looked confused, almost irritated, like I had gone off script. She laughed short and sharp. "Ryan, stop. You're being ridiculous." I did not sit down. I stayed standing, and for some reason that seemed to bother her even more. "I'm not," I said. "You told me to marry someone else if I can't wait. I'm taking you seriously." She rolled her eyes and grabbed her phone off the couch. "You always do this. You turn everything into an ultimatum." There was that word again. Ultimatum. It is strange how often people use that word when what they really mean is consequence. I reminded her calmly that she had brought timelines up before, that she had joked about engagement rings, that she talked about marriage like a thing somewhere on the horizon until suddenly, the second it became real, it was too much. She waved all of that off. "That doesn't mean I agreed to anything. I'm only 24. I still want to live life." Like commitment was some kind of funeral. I asked what exactly she was waiting for, a job milestone, a certain age, a feeling, something concrete I could at least understand. She shrugged. I'll know when I know. That answer hit harder than the rejection itself, because it meant there was no direction, no shared timeline, no real plan, just me standing still while she decided, maybe someday, whether I was enough. This is where a lot of people stay. They tell themselves the uncertainty is temporary. They call it patience when it is really just fear of losing what they already half lost. I told her I was not asking her to rush. I was asking her to choose. Then she said the cruelest thing of the whole night. Why do you need a ring so badly? Is it an ego thing, like you need to lock me down before I figure out I could do better? That was it. Not loud, not dramatic. Just casual and cruel enough to tell the truth. I felt something go quiet inside me, not anger, not even heartbreak right away, just detachment, a clean, cold clarity. I don't need to lock you down, I said. I need to know I'm not waiting in line. She stood up then, face tight. I can't believe you're throwing everything away over this. I looked around the apartment, the couch we picked together, the cheap side table we argued about in the store and laughed about later, her blanket on the chair, my shoes by the door, all the little evidence of a shared life. No, I said, I'm just not pretending anymore. She shook her head like I was embarrassing her. You'll calm down. We'll talk tomorrow. That sentence told me more than the rejection did. She thought my decision was a mood, a flare-up, a tantrum I would regret by morning. She thought time would shrink me back into the version of myself that always adjusted first, so I grabbed my jacket. There's nothing left to talk about. She did not follow me. She did not stop me. She did not apologize. She thought I was bluffing. I was not. I drove around for almost an hour that night before I could feel my hands again. I kept hearing her voice in my head. You'll calm down. We'll talk tomorrow. Like my feelings were not real until she approved them. I ended up at my friend Matt's place. He opened the door, looked at me once, handed me a blanket and said, "You good?" I said yes. And for once it was not a lie. The next morning my phone was full, not apologies, not reflection, instructions. We need to talk tonight, don't be immature. You really scared me last night. That last one almost made me laugh. I scared her by taking her words seriously. I answered with one sentence. I meant what I said, I'm done. Her response came back instantly. What do you mean done? No punctuation, all urgency. Panic makes people sloppy. By noon the tone shifted. I never said we were breaking up. You're twisting my words. Why are you doing this to us? There it was, the rewrite. The softening. The attempt to turn her rejection into my overreaction now that it had real consequences attached to it. I did not answer. Later that day, she texted me a photo of the ring box sitting on the coffee table. You forgot this. I had not forgotten it. I had left it there on purpose. When I got back to the apartment after work, she was sitting on the couch like she still owned the room. Shoes off, hoodie on, familiar posture, like this was just another evening and I was about to come back into orbit. She looked at me and said, "So, are you done proving your point?" I stood by the door and said, "I didn't propose to make a point." She scoffed. "You proposed to pressure me." "No," I said. "I proposed because I knew what I wanted." She crossed her arms. "Well, I don't, and that shouldn't end everything." "But it does," I said. "Because I'm not waiting indefinitely while you decide." That was when she snapped. "You think you're so mature, but real love waits." That line might sound deep if you do not look at it closely. But real love does not ask one person to stand still while the other keeps all the power. I looked at her then and understood something painful and clarifying at the same time. She did not want time. She wanted control over time. I picked up the ring box, slid it into my jacket pocket and said, "I hope you find what you're ready for." Her face twisted, not sad but offended. "You're making a huge mistake," I nodded. "I know." And I walked out again, this time for good. The next few days felt strange, like the relationship still existed somewhere but I had stepped outside it. I went back to the apartment once while she was at work and took the basics. Clothes, laptop, chargers, important papers. I left the furniture and all the small shared things. I was not trying to punish her, I just did not want reasons to keep coming back. Then her family got involved, first her sister, then a cousin, then unknown numbers. Finally, Ava called from her mom's phone, and I answered because I knew the calls would not stop otherwise. "What did you do?" she demanded. No hello, no softness, straight to accusation. "I ended the relationship," I said. "You embarrassed me," she snapped. "My mom is freaking out. Everyone thinks you just walked out for no reason." I told her there was a reason. I proposed. She said no and told me to marry someone else if I could not wait. She scoffed. "That's not what I meant." "But it's what you said." She went quiet for a second. Then, flat and bitter, she asked, "So you're really just done?" "Yes. You don't even want to talk this through." "We did talk," I said. "You were clear." That was when her voice changed. "You know, my parents thought you were serious. They thought you were mature." I almost laughed. "I am serious," I said. "That's why I'm not staying." She hung up on me. 2 hours later, her mom called, then her dad. I did not answer either one. The next morning, I woke up to a long voicemail from her father about patience, maturity, and how real men do not walk away when things get uncomfortable. What struck me was what none of them mentioned. Not once did anyone repeat the part where Ava told me to marry someone else. That is how family stories work sometimes. The sharpest detail gets removed first. I deleted the voicemail. I blocked Ava's number, thinking that would finally buy me some quiet. Instead, the noise just rerouted itself. Mutual friends started texting things like, "She's really hurting, and she didn't mean it like that, and you know how she is." Yeah, that was the problem. One friend told me Ava had been telling people I ambushed her with the proposal, that she felt cornered. That she was honest and I punished her for it by leaving, punished, like my departure was cruelty instead of self-respect. 3 days after I moved out, an email from Ava came through, long, emotional, carefully written. She said she was shocked I had thrown everything away so fast. That she thought I loved her enough to wait, that she did not understand why marriage had to be now. What she never said, not once, was "I'm sorry." That mattered. Because when someone hurts you and then only talks about your reaction, they are not reflecting. They are managing. I started typing replies and deleted all of them. Finally, I sent one sentence. "I didn't leave because you said no. I left because you told me to marry someone else." She replied 5 minutes later. That was a joke. I stared at the screen for a long time. A joke. Something that cut me straight through had become careless wording now that it no longer served her. I did not answer. That night, Matt asked if I was okay, and I told him the truth. I was sad, sure, but I was not confused anymore, and that mattered, because clarity hurts less than hope that keeps getting postponed. By the end of the week, Ava showed up outside my work, not inside. Just across the street when I got off, sunglasses on, arms crossed, looking like she had rehearsed the scene in her head before I got there. "Can we talk?" she asked. I almost said no. Instead, we sat on a bench in public where neither of us could turn it into a performance. She started immediately. "I don't get why you're acting like this huge betrayal happened." "I'm not acting," I said. "I'm responding," she scoffed. "You're 25, Ryan. People wait. You don't just blow up a relationship because someone isn't ready on your schedule." I asked her if there was ever a schedule, an age, a year, a milestone, anything concrete. She hesitated, then snapped. "Why do you need guarantees? That's so unattractive." That word did something to me. Unattractive. Like asking for intention made me weak. Like wanting clarity lowered my value. I told her, "I don't need guarantees, I need intention." She rolled her eyes. "You sound like a podcast." Then she leaned in and said, "You know, my parents loved you. You really want to be the guy who walked away because he couldn't wait." I stood up. "No," I said. "I'm the guy who walked away because he wasn't chosen." That landed harder than I expected. She stood too, flustered now. "You're twisting everything." "No," I said. "I'm finally seeing it clearly." She laughed, bitter this time. "You're going to regret this." I shrugged. "Maybe, but I won't regret respecting myself." Her face hardened. "Don't expect me to explain this to people for you." I smiled a little. I don't. Then I walked away while she was still standing there. Distance was supposed to scare me. Instead, it freed me. I thought that would finally end it. It did not. Her parents kept calling from new numbers. An aunt I barely knew left me a voicemail about how I had broken Ava's heart and needed to grow up. An Instagram message from some cousin asked why I would propose if I was just going to leave. That one almost got me, because it showed me exactly how the story was being told. In their version, Ava was a confused young woman who needed time. I was the impatient guy who could not handle no. There was no room in that version for her tone, or the eye roll, or the assumption that I would keep waiting anyway. I did not correct anyone, not because I could not, because I did not need to. Late one night, Ava texted me from another number. "You didn't have to let this get so ugly." I stared at the screen, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with sleep, and wrote back one line. I didn't make it ugly, I just didn't stay quiet. She did not answer. That was when I knew this was no longer about love, it was about reputation. A few days later, another email came through from her. Subject line, "Can we talk like adults?" That alone irritated me. The message was more polished this time. She said things had gotten out of hand, that her parents were upset, that she felt caught in the middle. She said she still loved me and just needed more time to feel secure. That maybe we rushed living together. That maybe expectations got misaligned. A lot of passive language. A lot of things happened. Then came the line that told me nothing had changed. "I just wish you hadn't reacted so extremely." Reacted. Like leaving after being told to marry someone else was some dramatic overcorrection. I let the email sit overnight. Then I answered with one sentence. I didn't react, I decided. There's a difference. She wrote back within an hour, "So that's it. You're really not willing to wait at all." I read that 3 times. Even then, after everything, she still saw this as me refusing to wait, not her refusing to choose. So I sent one last message. I waited 3 years. I just won't wait without direction. She never replied after that. The calls slowed down after a while. The family outrage burned itself out. The friends stopped checking in. Life got smaller and quieter in a way that felt more honest than what I had before. I moved into a smaller place closer to work. Bare walls, no shared furniture, no framed quotes she liked, no little reminders trying to pull me back into a version of us that never really held. And here is the part I kept replaying for weeks. Ava genuinely thought I would stay. Every step of the way, she assumed the proposal was just a moment I would circle back from. That I would put the ring away, say I understood, and keep building a life with her while she figured out if I was worth choosing. She thought not ready meant not now. What it really meant was not choosing you. The moment she said, "Marry someone else if you can't wait," something in me shut off, quietly. Permanently. She never noticed. By the time her family started calling, by the time she softened it into a joke, by the time she tried to turn it into impatience or pressure or immaturity, I was already gone. Some relationships end with screaming. Some end with cheating. Some end with one big scandal everyone can point to. Ours ended because I refused to audition for commitment. I loved her. In some quiet corner of me, maybe I still do. But love is not enough when one person keeps choosing later and the other person is expected to keep calling that hope. Lesson 1. A no is not always the end of a relationship, but contempt usually is. Lesson 2. Waiting only makes sense when both people are moving toward the same thing. Lesson 3. If someone tells you to find someone else, believe them the first time. Lesson 4. Being called dramatic is often the price of having a boundary. Lesson 5. Real love does not ask one person to stay in limbo while the other keeps all the control. What would you have done in that apartment after hearing those words on one knee? Would you have stayed and waited, or would that sentence have ended it for you too? And have you ever had a moment where you realized someone did not want to lose you, they just did not want to choose you yet?